Hi, my name's Ollie Hulme. I'm from the Danish Research Centre for Magnetic Resonance, also a Fellow of London Mathematical Laboratory. I'm going to be talking about how expected utility maximisers don't maximise utility. So I'm going to highlight an argument that we recently made in print with some of my colleagues, co-authors, pertaining to the difference between EE and EUT, and the consequences this has for maximising utility and wealth over time. This point has been made in different ways over time. We think this is the first time it's been made in full in this publication last year, Hulme et al. So the setup is that basically EE and EUT can look similar under a certain light if you squint a little bit. Both use variables representing wealth, both apply transformation to wealth, both compute expectation values, etc., etc. Generally, however, they are not equivalent. However, a mapping does exist under specific conditions, which I will show you. So here's some minimal setup. It's a choice between two stochastic processes representing wealth over time, A and B, basically. These processes are chosen so that there exists a monotonically increasing transformation f, whose increments are ergodic, basically. So here the expectation value of those changes is equal to the long time average. So f is known as the ergodicity transformation. So it's the transformation that renders the increment ergodic. G is the growth rate of wealth, so this itself is fluctuating with those increments. And the time average growth rate is the time average of that growth rate, and it's basically calculated by taking the expectation value of that growth rate of wealth. So EE agents choose to maximize the time average growth rate. That's basically what the theory predicts. EUT, again a minimal setup, is a choice between two random variables representing wealth. So notice before it was previously stochastic process, here it's actually a random variable instead, again A and B. A monotonically increasing transformation is defined. Famously, this is the utility function. And then EUT agents choose to maximize the expectation value of that, which is expected utility. So the mapping between EUT involves identifying the random variables from the stochastic processes to make that bridge between the random variable and the stochastic. That's quite straightforward. Since EE computes the time average growth rate of wealth as the rate of change in the expected value of the ergodicity transformed wealth, then basically if the ergodicity transformation is equal to the utility function, then maximizing time average growth rate is identical to maximizing expected utility. Now I should point out that this freedom to make these two transforms the same exists only with the utility function, because the utility function has freedom under its parameterization to become equal to the ergodicity transformation. The ergodicity transformation is not free to align to any arbitrary utility function. So what happens if EE and EUT diverge? So it's only EUT agents who act according to EE will maximize the time average growth rate of wealth. G will also maximize utility as time passes. If for a given dynamic, however, there is a distinction between the ergodicity transformation and the utility function, then agents that act according to EUT and maximize expected utility do not maximize utility as time passes, and they don't maximize wealth as time passes. So that's kind of a surprising result. It seems counterintuitive because the agent is maximizing expected utility and yet if you follow their experience of utility over time, they're generally not maximizing utility over time unless they are able to align their utility function to the ergodicity transformation. Now, what happens if dynamics change? So we've done experiments where we're interested in this, where we look at the differences between additive and multiplicative dynamics. So if dynamics change, then the EE agent, by definition, applies the ergodicity transformation and just continues to maximize the time average growth rate. The EUT agent cannot apply a different utility function because this would violate the axiom of completeness. So they're stuck with a single utility function. In this case, EUT agents cannot maximize wealth or utility because a single utility function can no longer align itself to the multiple ergodicity transformations needed for the different dynamics. So this is a contradiction, we think. So EUT emphasizes utility as its quantification of subjective value. So one might expect EUT to guarantee that utility itself would be maximized over time by agents that act according to its central behavioral criterion, but this is not the case. So just to end with a comparison between EUT and EE, we can ask different questions. So does EUT maximize wealth for a single dynamic? Not generally, unless it aligns its utility function precisely to the ergodicity transform predicted under EE. So not generally, but yes, it can. Can it maximize utility for a single dynamic? Again, not generally, but there is a point in its parameter space where, yes, it will be possible. Can it maximize wealth for multiple dynamics? No, that's actually impossible without violating the axiom of completeness. And can it maximize utility for multiple dynamics? No, it can't. We think that's kind of an embarrassing feature of a theory that aims to maximize a subjective definition of utility. EE, probably unsurprisingly, can do all of these things. So this work was done as part of the Ergodicity experiment. It's funded by Novo Nordisk, and it's a collaboration between the Danish Research Centre for Magnetic Resonance and London Math Lab. These are the co-authors on the paper that came out last year, which basically makes this fuller argument about the consequences of EUT not maximizing utility over time. Okay, thank you.